let you know that we have a little thunderstorm going on out here. So if you hear crackling and weird things, it's we have a little thunder and lightning action thing going on, but that's okay. I think it's passing. It sounds like it's passing, which is a good thing. So I want to welcome you to this is week 3, and I want to recap what we went through last week. But before I do, has anyone seen Jerry? Jack, I know you and Jerry were working together this afternoon, and perhaps Jerry's going to be late. Anyone?
He messaged me through Slack, but that was during like 3:30 in the afternoon. I was still working. I
Okay.
wasn't able to reply back to him until 6 p.m.
Okay. So maybe he's
And
on his way. Maybe he's just late.
I don't know. His status on Slack is not
Yeah, I see
no
that.
status.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll keep an eye out for him. One thing I do want to share with you guys, and I just got this, and I'm going to put it in chat. There is a free Tableau conference happening. It's the Tableau Data 2021. And so I put the link in chat. It is free, it's virtual, and I do encourage you to consider attending it because you'll probably learn quite a bit about Tableau and how it's being used out there. And also there's some, from what I understand, there's raffles for free swag and a bunch of stuff. Okay. So highly recommend that you, if nothing else, consider attending. And if you sign up and you can't attend, usually they'll send you a link to the recording or several recordings, which is good. So I always tend to do that. And if anything, it just gives you some additional learning opportunities in Tableau.
Thank you for sharing that, Cynthia.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So to recap what we did last week, we basically learned about the Tableau interface. There's a lot going on in Tableau, as you know, so we delved into that. We talked a little bit about joining and blending data, but we didn't get into it too lengthy. We're going to explore the built-in blending options in Tableau tonight for the purposes of merging two data sets that have in some cases, a parent-child relationship, and in others, it's a, if the data exists on the left, then pull in the data that's on the right. Okay. Now, the data we're working with tonight comes from last week's download. You had a zip file. We're going to be working with the audio sales and audio reviews data. All right. Another thing we talked about last week was validating data for accuracy. Sometimes when you get a data dump from like an ERP source or what have you, the data comes in a way that doesn't lend itself to perhaps manipulating it. Like month comes in as a, just a string of numbers, and perhaps you want to split those apart. We walk through that, and also different types of charts, excuse me. I'm hacking away here on a cough drop, so forgive me, a little raspy today, but charts. So different types of charts obviously are useful for different types of data, and we've talked about that in prior classes. And then of course we did a very simple dashboard. Now tonight, before we get into tonight's demo and what we're going to do, the homework for this week, I thought a little bit about what would be the best thing to do between this week and next week. And what I want you to think about, and it's posted on OpenHub, is using the Airbnb New York City data that we worked with over and over again, but the clean version of it, because we all know what pains we went through to clean the data. So using the clean data and coming up with 3 different charts, and this is kind of carte blanche. You choose what types of charts you're going to build, and then create a dashboard. And that's what I'm going to show you how to do tonight. So hopefully those skills will be useful and transfer over to you working on the homework. All right. Any questions before we get started? Anyone? Everyone's good, it sounds like. All right, I'm going to go ahead. All right, awesome. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Again, we're working with Tableau. So you want to open up Tableau Public. And hopefully everyone, as we go along, if you get stuck, don't hesitate to holler. I will say one thing. There's a lot of very specific steps that we have to do tonight. So I would just ask that I'm going to take a slower pace because I know that sometimes it's hard to see the screen and see your screen and all that fun stuff. But I would ask that if you need help, that you raise your hand. I can see that pop up, on the side, and it just helps me. And if for some reason I don't see you, then you can interject and say, you need help. This way we can kind of stay on track. All right. So we are going to connect to a Microsoft Excel file. And so we're going to click on Microsoft Excel. Obviously, we have two data sets we're working with. The first data set we want to select, and this is really important, is the sales data set for audiobooks. So does everyone have access to that data set?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. So we're going to load that one first. Okay. So when you click on it, you load it in. This is basically what you see. Nothing mysterious or unusual, right? I'll just pause here for a second to get Jerry up to speed. And all right, Jerry, good to see you.
Well, good
All
to
right.
be here.
So what we've done, we just got started. We've opened up Tableau.
Mhm.
And we've clicked on, the Excel link, and we've selected the audiobook sales data set. And this is from
Okay.
last week, right? We downloaded that data set.
So I have to click on Tableau, which is on my desktop somewhere. Hello, watch everything flashing on and off because it's pouring here.
Yes, I know. Yeah, it just blew past us, and it's probably on its way to you, but
Well, it's here.
yeah, okay. It's a gift. We just passed
Thank
it
you.
along. You're welcome. You're welcome.
I'm in Tableau and I go to Microsoft Excel,
Yep. And you're going to choose the audiobook sales data set.
audiobook sales.
All right. You
Open.
good?
All right. If it opens, I'm good.
Awesome. Okay. So here we are. We have our data set open. Now we're going to click on sheet 1 at the bottom to go to that worksheet. All right. And this is part of the blending approach that we started last week. Our goal is to basically work with the sales data and the reviews of those audiobooks. And if you could think about it logically, when a sale occurs after the sale, a lot of folks will post a review about the product they purchased. So the two data sets work together, but there's a time difference. Obviously they're not going to review it until they've purchased it, and that's the sales piece. So that's why sales leads the way, as it were. Okay.
Come on.
So we need to look at the sales and load the sales rather before we bring in the reviews. Okay. Now, first thing we want to do is our date of purchase. You'll notice that dividing line that we talked about. We have our dimensions and our measures. And right now, date of purchase is viewed as a measure. And we don't want that. We need to have it as a dimension, which, remember, in review for last week, dimensions are categorical and the measures are basically our dependent variables. So if you want to think of it this way, your dimensions are the independent variables. Your measures are your dependent variables. All right. So what we want to do is we want to change the date. We want to change the data purchase data type by selecting a little arrow next to it and going down to change data type. And we want to choose just date. Right now it's a number, it's a whole number. And that's why Tableau brought it into the measures side of the house. Okay. So now data purchase is considered categorical. And think of it this way, it's a way of organizing the data around a temporal plane rather than a numeric plane, which dates traditionally are not. Okay. Everyone got that all right?
Yep.
All right. Awesome. So now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to bring in our reviews data. And the way we're going to do that is go up to the data tab on top, go down to new data source, Microsoft Excel, and we're going to click on audiobook reviews. And that's going to load the second data set. And we're going to click on sheet 1. And when we do, we will see two data sets here. Okay. They're represented under the data tab. You'll notice reviews is now on top. It came in after sales, which is fine. Okay. So does everyone have both those data sets represented in their data tab up top on the left?
Just
Hopefully.
give me a minute. For some reason it's crashing on me, so I'm just trying to get back
Okay.
in.
No worries, Jack. Let me know when you're ready.
I'm not seeing what you're showing.
Okay, you have to click on sheet 1, Jerry, to see.
Click on sheet 1. Clicking on sheet 1. Okay, there they are. Okay.
Okay. And so what you'll see in the data tab, you will see the audiobook reviews and the audiobook sales. And all this means is that we've connected to 2 data sets. Right now, Tableau sees them as distinct, not married, basically distinct and, capable of being blended. And that's what we're about to do. So Jack, how's it going?
Hold on a second. I'm trying to.
Okay.
All right. So let me see. I have data purchase. I have to go to change type, make it date, and then
And now you're at the point to bring in reviews.
let's see.
Okay.
Damn it! It keeps crashing on me.
Are you on the same note as last week?
Yeah, but I was okay for the most part. This is
Can you hop to the other node or no?
no. This one is. It would take too long.
All right. Do you mind watching and then perhaps
Yeah, no worries.
catching
I'll
up?
just do what I can.
Yeah, and here, do what you can, and please participate in such, and I'm sorry that's happening, but I know it does happen. So, all right, is everyone else caught up to where you have both reviews and sales up here in the data tab?
So
Yes.
we're in the data tab and we click on reviews, we see one set of tables. And when we click on sales, we see another set of tables. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's correct. And that's very important. That allows you to toggle between them, right? And as I was saying before, a minute ago, they're not joined at the hip. They're kind of separate entities, and they're capable of being blended at this point. So ideally, you would have to know what direction you're going with the blending process. Okay. So the first, and we're going to try some different scenarios in blending. And what I'm going to show you is how to deduce the best approach. So we're going to test one approach and then we're going to change it and use a different approach. And the purpose of that is to compare and contrast different ways of blending the data to accomplish the goal, which eventually what we're going to do is join these 2 data sets. Okay. All right. So first things first, we want to click so that the audiobook sales is highlighted. And we're going to go up to data and edit blend relationships. Okay. Everyone have that there?
Yes.
All right. So you'll see that the primary data source is audiobook sales. The secondary is the reviews, which is what we had intended. That's what the goal was based on what we knew about the data. And ironically, it's using the transaction ID, which is part of the audiobook. Both files have a transaction ID, right? And it's using audiobook name as well. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to click the custom button, and we are actually going to add an additional way of linking these 2 data sets. We're going to click the add button, and we're going to expand the arrow on the, we're going to click above the arrow, my bad. So we have 2 dates of purchase here, okay? We want to click on date of purchase, not the one with the arrow, right? The one directly above him, and the review date. So by having those 2 selected, we're saying, I want to select this field from the primary, this field from the secondary. And we're going to click OK. All right. And so this is what you should see in your window: audiobook name on both sides, date of purchase on the one side, review date on the other side, and transaction ID on one side and on the other side. what we're basically doing is, remember, the primaries on the left, this would be sales. The secondaries on the right, this would be the join to the reviews. Okay, everyone see that? And everybody has that on their screen, hopefully.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, awesome. Okay, I'm going to click OK. So at this point, we've proposed a way of blending. Now we're going to test that to see if it's working as we intended. So first thing we're going to do is you have measure values as a dimension, or I'm sorry, as a measure down here. We're going to drag that into our workspace. So I literally just took measure values and drug it into the workspace. And what you'll see is a value of 110,570. All right. So we know that it's perceiving the number of transactions that we have in sales. Okay. We're going to remove that. And the easy way to remove that is simply down here in the measure values, just drag this off of the tablet and it will go blank and we'll have a blank sheet to work with. Okay, everyone good so far? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, now what we're going to do is click on the audiobook reviews data, and that's up top here. And we get the other set of fields, right, that are associated. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to purposely create an error so that you can see what happens when you bring in a value that it can't support. So we're going to drag rating into the workspace. Okay. And when you do that, it throws an error that says that you can't use fields from audiobook reviews data source because there's no relationship to the primary data source. So remember, the relationship we just didn't involve ratings, right? It involved audiobook name, data purchase, review date, transaction ID, but it did not involve ratings. Do we all remember that? So what happens is it's going to throw this error because it can't make an association between the two tables. It knows that blending happened, but it knows that it can't really represent anything with respect to rating. Okay. Everyone good so far? Makes sense? We're going to click OK. Everyone's like, why did we just do this? I don't know. All right. What we're going to do is we're going to say, hey, we want you to use a specific field to facilitate the join, if you will. So we're going to click on transaction ID right here, the little chain link next to transaction ID. And notice it turns red. Okay. Everyone got that? It's a very subtle thing, but we're basically saying use this. So we're making a suggestion to Tableau to use this. Now, the 96,897 is not accurate. We can't really sum the ratings and get anything useful. What we would love to do is find out how many ratings there were. So we're going to change the sum rating to count. So we're going to click on the little drop down arrow next to sum rating, go down to measure, and click on count. And now it updates to 10,798. So that tells us that we have 10,798 ratings for audiobooks. Okay. Pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
So far. All right. We're going to
I
go
didn't know
back.
there were that many people who were reading books or listening to books. So it's okay.
Well,
No, it's okay. I'm just being snotty.
I know. Okay. Oh, you're being yourself, Jerry. Wonderful.
Yeah, that's me.
There's a lot of people that read audiobooks.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good way to digest stuff. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to drag, before we drag though, we have to go back to sales because sales has dates in it. We're going to drag the date of purchase up to columns. And we get this interesting, and let me just move my little guy out of the way here. Got to move your panel here out of the way. All right, we get basically the year, date of purchase, and we get a split of the 3 years going across. Not very informative, and what we really want is we want month. So we're going to click on the drop down arrow next to year, date of purchase and go to month. And now we get something a little more, definitive, if you will. Okay, So far, so good. Everyone hanging in. Now you'll notice that we've got the years, but we don't have the. I apologize. We have the months, but we don't have the year. Everyone see that? So it says, January, February, March, but there's no year at the end. And we do know that our data does span over several years.
I
So
have months and years, and I don't have numbers below them.
okay, then you did something incorrect.
Yep.
Okay. So do you have month data purchase up here?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
It's green, not blue, though.
Okay. And you have the count of rating down here.
Yes, I do.
Okay. And if you click on the sales data and go up to data edit blend relationships, what do you have in your relationships?
Okay, where is edit blend relationships?
It's under the data menu.
Data, edit blend relationships.
Sales
Yeah, I
should
have
be the primary.
sales is the primary,
Reviews is secondary.
reviews is secondary,
And then you're using audiobook name on both sides.
audiobook name, date of purchase, review date, transaction ID, transaction ID.
Okay, very interesting that you have years. Well, if you have years, then you got lucky. I don't know how you did it, but
But
I'm
I
gonna
don't have the numbers that you have, the counts.
okay, so you have a count of rating though over here, and you don't have counts.
Right, yeah.
Okay. Why
Want to
don't
see
you
my screen, yeah?
yeah, why don't you go ahead and share your screen? Okay, drag count rating out of the tablet, just throw it to the nope. Count rating, yeah. Drag that away to the left. Okay, and now go back to audiobook reviews and click on rating. And what I want you to do, Jerry, very carefully is drag it and lay it on top of the empty boxes above the months. So drag it up and whoop, come down a little bit, up a little, right there, let go. Didn't work. Let's try, yeah.
2056, okay.
Yeah, so press Control Z. All right, and let's try it again. Click on rating and drag it up. Nope, you double clicked. Yeah, just click. Yep. And if you lay it there, it's not going to work. Go ahead, let go. Yeah, it's not going to work. You have to kind of lay it. Try laying it on top the months and see if it'll grab it.
Put it in rows up here?
No.
No.
Oh, the months that you have on the screen. You have months and years on the screen. You have to drag rating and lay it on top of months and year on the screen.
Okay, let me get my mouse to, come on. Month and year, like right there.
Yeah, I guess you got, I guess you dragged rating. I didn't even see what you grabbed. You went very fast. I'm not sure what you swiped.
Rating,
Yep. And lay it on.
right
Right,
there,
like
or
that. Yeah, try it.
no, it's 2056 again. That's bizarre.
Okay, Control Z again. All right, so click once on rating, drag it over and lay it on top of October 2016. In other words, lay it on top of the month labels.
It says sum rating.
Yes, I don't care about that. We can fix
Okay.
that.
Okay.
Okay, lay it on top of the months and the year descriptions. Nope, down right there.
Nothing happens. What is this?
Pardon?
Nothing. I'm just wondering if I click on that plus, what would that do?
I really would prefer you didn't do that because
Okay,
I have a class to teach. Okay.
yeah.
So click on rating one more time.
Mhm.
And actually, Carolina, thank you so much. Click Jack or Jerry. I'm sorry, Jack. Click sales up top. I didn't even see that it's not selected. Click sales, right? And what I want you to do is actually remove month date of purchase. We're going to do this over. So
Remove that
no, month date of purchase in the column section.
in the column section.
Just drag that away. We're going to do it over.
Okay, I can't remove there.
Yes, yeah, okay. So what I want you to do is click data purchase and drag it up to columns. Yeah, but you have to lay it to the right of columns. You can't lay it on top of the dimension itself.
Month date of purchase. What am I down? I have to be on sales
You're
now?
on sales. You've been on
Date of
sales.
purchase,
Okay, there you go. Now let go. All right, now you're going to change that to year. I'm sorry, month.
month, right?
Go down to month.
Mhm.
Not that one. Above month.
Month.
Okay,
That's the problem.
that's the problem.
That's the
Okay.
problem. Okay.
All right, and
Here's the
click.
wrong month.
Okay, now click on audiobook reviews.
Mhm.
Click rating and drag it right there.
Okay.
All right, now you're going to get that error that we talked about. All right, so you're going to click on the OK.
Click OK.
I think I said that, sure.
No, I froze.
Okay, yeah, click OK. Now
Mhm.
you're going to click on the link, the chain link next to transaction ID. Okay, perfect. Now, the only other thing you have to do is change it from sum rating to count. So you're going to click on the drop down arrow next to sum rating. I guess your screen froze. All right, go down. Okay. All right.
I think I'm in count, right? Yeah.
Yeah, you are. It says
I'm in count.
CNT. Yep.
Okay, all right.
All right. Awesome. Awesome. Okay.
So
So-
the problem was I just picked the wrong month.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. All right. Awesome.
Mhm.
Okay. So let me jump back. So Carolina, I see you made a post about audio. Are you're able to hear me though? It's just that your audio is low. That's why you didn't say anything, right? Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate your tip there. Okay. You jogged my mind and I said, I bet you we need to start this over. So good. All right. Awesome. So we have some dates and things. Now, what we don't have is the year. All I have is the month. So it would be really helpful to have the month and the year because as you know, we have more than 1 year's worth of data. The way you do that, you're going to click on the drop down arrow next to month date in the column section. And you're going to go down to more and you're going to click on custom. And instead of date part, we're going to choose date value. And what that does is it spreads everything out. All right. And it basically gives you the months and the years. Okay. Everyone good so far? Hopefully.
Mhm, but we lost the count.
You lost the count?
I don't see it on your screen either.
Oh, okay. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to I recognize that we lost the data values.
Okay.
That's
Mhm.
part of the exercise.
Okay.
All right. So
I was just
I know
looking
that
at
might
it and then,
I know, and I know it might upset you, and that's okay. But I'm aware that they're gone.
Mhm.
All right. There's a reason they're gone, and we're going to talk about that. So
Okay.
no worries, no worries. Okay. We didn't get to that part. I had to stop and help you, so we didn't get to that part yet. Okay. All right. So as Jerry has observed, we don't have values anymore, right? And there's a really logical reason why we don't, because we have not joined or blended the dates based on the two tables that we have, the two data sets that we have. All right. So it can't truthfully represent it. So we have our table looking the way we want, but we need to change our data and how it is married. All right. So we're going to go back up to our data and edit relationships. Okay. And we are actually going to delete all of these relationships because, again, when I started the lecture tonight, I said that we're going to go through different iterations of setting up the blending of two tables of data or two spreadsheets of data and see what the results are. And then based on that and based on our changing of the blending process, make changes in how we link them. And that's where we're going now. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove each one of these. Okay. Because we want to specify a very specific joining pattern. Okay. So we're going to click on the add button and we're going to expand date of purchase using the arrow. And we're going to click on year date of purchase. And then we're going to expand the arrow, the review date arrow, and choose year review date. So we literally are matching up the year to the year. And then we're going to do month and month. Why are we doing that? Because we changed how our data is displayed in the table. So now we're going to click OK. We're going to go back, click add again, expand date of purchase, click month date of purchase, expand review date, and click month review date. Okay. So now we've changed the nature of the relationship. Okay. And when we click OK, I'm just giving you a warning. You'll get a little message that pops up saying transaction ID is no longer joined. And we know that because we removed it. Okay. So this error that we get here is not really an error. It's a warning. Okay. So we're going to ignore it. It's fine. We're aware of it. We removed it. So we're good to go. Now, in our columns, we're going to change our month to date of purchase. And in order to do that, we're going to drag this out. Again, I'm just pulling it off of columns. All right. And go back to our sheet count, which is 10,798. All right.
I'm sorry, you're going a little bit too fast for me. I only got the month date of purchase and the month review date. I didn't get the next one on the ad.
Okay. I'm going to go back to data, click on edit, blend relationships.
Right.
And you have the month, but you don't have the year, or you have the year and not the month.
Year of purchase. Okay, so I click on date of purchase. I have the month, I don't have the year.
Thank you. So you're going to click on add.
Add year date of purchase.
Uh-huh.
And then on review date, I click on year review date.
You got it.
Okay, and I click there. And I have year date of purchase review date. I just click OK.
You got it.
Okay, thank you.
All right. All right. So now that we have that, we're going to remove data purchase off of columns and we're going to put it back into columns. I know it sounds funny. All right. And we're going to remove count and rating off of there because it wasn't working for us. And we're going to go back and put rating back, and it is some, which is fine. And we're going to not do what I just did. Undo. Hold on. My mouse got crazy. Take rating, and we're going to drag it up to, hopefully, put it on years, and then we're going to click on month. And that should, well, screw it up. Let me just see what happened here. Yeah, we got to do it over. I apologize. You want to get it so it looks like so. I apologize. It's very hard to do this if I get thrown out of sequence. So where is everybody at so I could start over? Does everyone have at least a table?
I have this.
You have this?
I have
Okay.
what you have.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. Jack, what do you have? Nothing, right? You're still watching?
Yeah, I'm dead in the water.
Okay. All right. And Carolina, you have this, I hope. Okay. Hopefully she does.
I don't. Sorry, I have month date of purchase.
Okay, and do you have,
I have year date of purchase. How do I make that month?
if you have year,
Yeah.
you shouldn't have to change it back. The question becomes, what do you have on the sheet? Do you have ABC?
No,
Okay, did you remove both the month data purchase? Did you remove everything off and start fresh with a new sheet?
I should do that all over again.
Yeah.
Let me take the count off and the year date of purchase off. Okay, so now I go to audiobook sales and I take date of purchase
Mhm.
and I put that in the columns
Yes. And then you change it to month,
and change it to month.
just month for now.
Okay, so it's the first month I see. And okay, now I got ABCs.
All
Okay.
right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take rating and we're going to drag it into our sheet area. And not that, for God's sakes, what's going on here? Lay it so that it's a black box. That's the best way I can describe it. You're dragging it so that it's a black box. And when you get the solid black box, you let go of the mouse. And
Got
I
it.
know, right. And
Yay.
okay. Now the counts are wrong. We know that. And the month and the year is not represented. So let's fix the counts first. We're going to click on the drop down arrow next to sum rating. And we're going to go down to, you guessed it, measure sum and count. All right, this is exactly what we should be seeing.
Carolina was asking, should we be on audiobook sales or reviews?
We should be on reviews. Thank you, Yulia. I didn't even see. Yes, yes. So Carolina, we should be on reviews. And here's the thing. And actually you raise a good question. So let me explain. Once you blend them, right? It doesn't matter which one you're on per se. It's which fields do I need to work with? So you're kind of toggling between them. So you're good to go in that regard. They're joined, and the way that we know they're joined, and this is a very simple visual, which hopefully Tableau will make better in the future. But you see these little dots here? We've got blue and red. That just tells you that they're joined right at the hip. And notice that sales has a kind of a greenish, and forgive me, it looks greenish bluish, right? That's the leader. That's the primary. Okay. So that's a great question. It really, like, you don't have to worry about which one you're on. It's really, okay, which field do I need? So since we just did rating, right? I had that highlighted, which is fine. And then, of course, we drug it in and we changed our count from sum to count. And then the last thing we need to do is coming up here is choose our month year dynamic that we're looking for. So we're going to click on the drop down arrow, go down to more, choose custom, and then of course date value. And of course everything disappears. My Lord, it's not our night, is it? Not our night. So here's what we're going to do for simplistic sake. Let's just undo and accept the data as we have it. I'm not going to get too fussy because we're basically going to create a chart where that will not be relevant. So it must be a bug and I'm not going to worry about it at this moment. How's that? All right. Keep it simple. All right. Now there is one thing though that would be helpful. And again, you got to be really careful when you do what I'm going to show you. You'll notice here that when I mouse over next to the month on the right hand side, I get an arrow that points left, right. I can drag this ever so slightly and make it a little bit bigger. You don't want to drag too much because then it becomes super large. It kind of just blows it up. But here it makes it just easier to see the data. Okay. Now, for those of you that have astute eyes in the world of data, what trend do you see here? If you do it all, what trend do you see is happening, if anything?
Looks like you got summer reading and some reason January's having, it's after the holiday reading.
Okay, so Now these are reviews, right?
These are
So,
reviews, okay.
right. So it's not necessarily reading, it's reviews. So if you see high inflated reviews in January, you can make an inference that they're reviewing what they purchased maybe in November,
Are the
December.
gifts that they got for
You
Christmas.
got it. You got it. Gifts for Christmas. So that's a very common trend on the review cycle. You know, post holiday sales, people then start looping back and reviewing those sales, right? And we don't know if they're positive or negative reviews at this point. We just know that reviews came in. Okay. Um, okay. So another trend that we see is that December seems a little light. So what do you think that that means? I mean, it's just slightly better than March. What do you think it might be going on there?
People are shopping and not listening.
So they're shopping and not listening. Okay.
Holiday, there's nothing but holidays, you know.
Right. But so they're not listening and reviewing properly.
Everybody's in party mode.
There you go. All right. Okay. That sounds good. But they review a lot, it seems like in August, September, October, November. That seems to be a really, so what do you think is driving that?
School.
Okay.
First December and October.
It
Okay.
could be gifts, so people receiving them are not reviewing them, said
Yeah.
Carolina.
Yes. That's a very, very good point. Thank you. Thank you. I think like back to school, colleges, a lot of students are, you know, doing sort of the textbook kind of thing, and they've started to listen to their textbooks and they're perhaps reviewing them based on whether or not they're, you know.
But that would only be for fall semester. Why not for spring semester?
Well, fall semester is a heavy semester. So this is higher than typically, because some students show up for fall, don't go in spring. So that might be a trend that they're starting a new semester, they're starting a new academic year, and they're reviewing those textbooks that they've downloaded and they're listening to them audio wise, right?
Mhm.
So maybe that's what's driving it. So it's kind of an interesting trend at this point.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're not really sure what's gearing, you know, what's causing it, but basically that's what we see here. All right. So the purpose of this, by the way, and this that we just built is not going to be part of our charts. And I do apologize. It was a little herky jerky, but it also lets us know that when you're blending data, sometimes when you first drag something over, it doesn't work. You have to undo and try again. All of these different spots in Tableau are very sensitive. And the beauty of it is when you drag and drop something, it'll go where you tell it, but it may not necessarily be where you want it. So you have to be really, really careful. All of these little cells here are hotspots. And so what I would encourage you to do is just know what it should look like, what's reasonable. And if you don't get the desired result, you know, undo it and try again. Okay, very, very important. All right, so after all that hard work, we're actually going to drag count rating off of the palette, the marks palette, and we're going to remove month date of purchase and start fresh, because we're going to go into chart territory. All right, all that hard work, right? All right, now what we do have is our blending, right? Let's double check that our blending is still with us. It is, but we need to add something to our blending. We've decided that we want to develop a dashboard that's comprised of 3 charts. Those 3 charts will be basically placed on our dashboard in a strategic way so that they're visual, and we'll say the business owner who wants to look at the audiobooks and the reviews, the sales and reviews, can kind of get a good feel for the data. So there's a field missing here from our prior work with this. The other thing that's super important is notice what's happened here. My primary data source is now reviews, and it's not supposed to be, right? And the secondary is sales. And that's because we removed from our sheet those fields that were kind of controlling that. It's very simple to fix, however. So what you're going to do is just change it back to sales being primary and reviews being secondary. Okay. So it's not something that you did per se. It's just that Tableau says, hey, I don't see a connection, so I'm just going to guess. And that's what it did. Okay. So the second thing is we want to make sure that custom is selected, and we're going to click on add. And we're going to click audiobook name and audiobook name and click OK. We need this because that's how it's going to join the name of the audiobook, which, by the way, in the data set, has anyone looked at the data set and seen the name of the audiobook before we click OK? I'm curious. It's generic. Audiobook 1, audiobook 2.
Yeah.
Oh, who names books that way? Right?
Data
Um,
scientists.
Yes, data scientists. Because yeah. So rule of thumb, just so you know, when we go to build our dashboard, one of the things that we might mention to our client is that it would really be helpful to have the actual name of our book, right? But we'll see it once we build it. All right, we're going to
Quick
click OK.
question, a
Yeah.
quick, would someone do that to you deliberately to try and prevent you from introducing like personal values or favoritism or something like that?
Not really, Jerry, because here's the thing in the dashboard. So assume you're building the dashboard for your client, right? These are their books and it's, sales of the books that they put out there, and reviews, right? So it's really for the business owner, business management and such to determine this. So when you come across a data set where there is somewhat obfuscation or generic, audiobook 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you have to assume that hopefully they know the difference between audiobook 1 and 5, because on the dashboard, that's the only way you can represent it, right? So they would have an affinity for what it is. Now, there could be a reason for them doing that, and it warrants having a conversation with them just to let them know what you're limited with given the data set, right? So it is an interesting naming convention that they've used. So if they didn't want them revealed, perhaps that might be why, but again, for conversation purposes, it's not a good practice if they want to be able to recognize, this book title versus that one.
So this might be a data set that we got from a publisher who doesn't want you to know what really going on with their books.
Right. And, or you may have a master list that internally you can view.
Mhm.
And so in the event that this dashboard got pushed out somewhere, it would never be revealed.
Right.
That might be, maybe it's a thing where they don't have Tableau server and they don't have it secure internally and they don't want it. And so maybe this is just there's a reason for it. And, as data scientists, it's always a good idea for us to understand why. And that would warrant going back to the client and saying, here's the results. However, we can't really build a dashboard with the real name if we don't have it.
Mhm.
And then who knows, maybe it might engender some conversation about, well, what can we do to, fix that, right? So,
Okay.
all right. All right. So we're going to click OK. All right. So nothing fancy has happened, obviously. Now, first thing we're going to do is we're going to change our sheet tab name. Instead of sheet 1, we're going to double click and call it chart 1. Okay. All right. We're going to drag review date up to columns. And it's really a large data set, isn't it? Look at this little guy. It's so tiny. We're going to change our format for our month because that's what we're looking for. So we're going to click on the drop down next to year. We're going to go down to the first instance of month. Okay. And you'll notice we get review date, we get the months, right? And it would help to have it with the year. So let's go back and do the same thing we did prior. Clicking on the drop down, going down to more, down to custom, and then date value. And we get the same thing we did last time. All right. Now we're going to drag rating up to rows and render a chart. And I'm just going to move our little chat box out of the way here. Okay. So here's our chart. Now, let me shrink this down just so that I can. All right. Our chart is basically a line graph. It's got the months and year on the x-axis. It's got rating on the y-axis. It's informative, but it could be better. So there's something called a dual, we'll call it a dual axis chart. You can actually put another dynamic on the right side of your chart. Now you have to be really careful when you're doing this. We're going to click on rating and we're going to drag all the way to the right side of our chart. And by the way, you need to remove show me first. Click on show me to get rid of it so you can see what you're doing. Drag rating all the way over until you see a dashed dotted vertical line and let go. So it looks like a series of dashes, if you will. Okay. And left out of the way. All right. So everyone has rating on the other axis. You have rating on both sides. Sounds kind of cool, right? I've got rating on both sides.
Mhm.
We have rating here, rating here. Now, obviously, the count of rating is really what we're looking for, right? We have the sum of rating here, but it makes no sense. So what we want to do is click on the drop down next to sum of rating, go down to measure sum and choose count. And do the same for the second one, because these are really counts. Okay. Now, you'll notice I have a second one here. Does anyone know why we have a second one? What do you think? Should we have a second one?
Put a second one there.
There's a second one there. So does it help to have both of them? How could we change it so one is better than the other? I'm going to give you a hint. On the left side, we're counting our ratings, and you can see the number of ratings. So when you're planning these types of double axes approaches, think of what other formula would be useful. Average would be great, right? So in the second one here, I'm going to change this little guy to average. Come on, mouse. So now I've got average on one axis and count on the other. That's an interesting approach.
Okay, where's average?
All right, so if you
Measure, count, average. Right?
yeah, measure and
Okay. got it.
average. Yep, yep. So now you have count, rating, and average of rating, and it's by month. And of course, the year is showing on the X axis, right? Okay, everyone good so far?
So the average rating showing on the right is 9.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, what we're about to do is we are going to change our graph. The line chart works well, but it actually, when you have two lines competing with each other, they don't visually assist the reader or the viewer in understanding the data. Number one, they're the same color. They really don't help the viewer. So on the left-hand side, you have average rating in your marks palette. We're going to change that from automatic to area. And we're going to do the same thing for the count of rating. Instead of automatic, we're going to change it to area. Now we have two separate plots. Visually, it's easier to see them. We're going to make a few more changes in a second. Was everyone able to get the rating, both the
cool.
count of rating and average of rating?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So now we have two colors, but they kind of conflict with each other, right? They're kind of fighting with each other. So we're going to click on average rating. We're going to choose color. All right. And we're going to go with like a gold color. Okay. That was kind of interesting. Let's go to count of rating and we're going to choose a color and let's choose a blue. So what do you think's going on here? They're both the same color, right? You have like a gold and a brown. Yeah, does everyone have kind of like the same thing I have, a gold and a brown? So they kind of conflict with each other. They're not, it's kind of helpful, but it would really be nice to have something super visual, right? This is still, it's an improvement, but it's not quite there, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to click back on average rating. Okay, whoops, we have area already, my bad. We're going to click color. And first thing we're going to do is change the opacity to 100%. That looks horrible, right? And we're now going to press undo. Here's a trick. When we chose our color for average rating and our count of rating, we didn't bother selecting them. You see? So now when I select them, I'm selecting everything. And that's a problem. You see? So I should be able to select each section, each part of the chart, right? This section and this section as two distinct areas, and I'm not able to do that. So that's a problem. Would you agree? It doesn't make it easy, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to go back and flip this to automatic for both of them. And I'm going to show you a better way to deal with changing our colors, okay? Everyone got automatic back? And again, this is just a Tableau thing. What you click on and what you change, it's very specific and very persnickety. All right, now we're going to go back to rating, average rating, and we're going to change it to area. Okay. And let's undo that. That should not be. I don't know why it did that. Let's try it again. Whoops, I'm on the wrong thing here. My bad. Get it together, girl. Okay. Is everyone getting the same result as me?
Pretty much.
Okay, so you have all this gold back here for area. Yeah. All right. I'm going to assume everyone got the same. We're going to go over to count of rating and we're going to choose blue for our color, full opacity, and we want to choose an area chart. All right. We're back to the same colors. This is mysterious. Okay. Not sure why it's doing this. It should not be doing this. Let's figure this out.
And
And opacity is supposed to be 100%. So here's what we're going to do. I apologize, guys. Let's undo this. Press Control Z till you get back to this point. All right. And I apologize for whatever reason it's being persnickety tonight. We want it so that we can select this area. And right here, I'm able to select this area.
so you're in count. Count area,
Yeah. And actually, we're in the average rating. We're in the
Average,
bottom
okay.
part. Yeah. Yeah. All right.
average rating.
Yep. And you see how I have it selected now? And it is blue. Is yours blue as well?
Now it is, but I have pale blue up top. I don't have the white above the blue.
Okay, so you have the whole thing blue in the background?
Yeah,
Did you undo a couple times so you got back to this point? So you wanted to undo.
where is the undo?
It's under, you can do Control Z,
Okay,
or it's this little arrow right here that goes back to the left. So what you want to do is undo till you get to this point.
okay, so what
Yeah.
do I undo?
Yep, until you
Control
get to
Z,
where you have,
Control A, Z.
yeah, it's,
I'm nowhere near that. I'm back to having no colors at all.
which is fine.
Okay.
Do you have shapes?
Yeah,
Okay, so you have this shape, right? And you
Right.
notice how I have this selected?
and I have the
there's-
line above it.
Yep, so I have it selected. Once you have it selected, then, and make sure
Okay.
you're on average rating, select it, right?
Average rating,
Yep,
area,
click on color and make sure it's area. It should be area.
it shouldn't, it's on automatic, so it should be area.
Yep.
It's coloring the whole thing.
Okay. All right, so let's do this.
What am I doing? I click on the line, so I'm selecting that. And I go to average rating, area. And it just colors in the whole thing.
Okay, you went to average rating, you said,
Yeah,
and you made that area, right?
yep,
And it looks like this.
no,
Okay.
it's one color, and only one color.
Okay. So let's do this. What we're going to do is we're going to right click on the chart 1 sheet tab down below,
Right,
and we're going to delete it if it will let us.
delete.
Yeah.
Chart 1, delete.
And if it won't let you delete it, just remove everything from the sheet tab.
Well, it's deleted.
Okay, so if you deleted the sheet tab, we're going to recreate chart 1 sheet tab by renaming the sheet 1 to chart 1. We'll start over. For whatever reason,
Chart
this is
1.
not working tonight.
Okay,
Okay,
chart 1.
all right, so our sheet tab is chart 1, right?
Mhm.
Let's double check our blending to make sure that's still set, and it should be.
Okay, data, edit blend relationships, still there. Okay,
All right. One thing we need to make sure is that sales is primary and our secondary is
I gotta go
reviews.
change that. Okay, sales is primary and
All right.
reviews is secondary. Click OK.
Yep. Click OK. And now
Mhm.
we're going to select review date and drag it over to columns.
Review date, drag it over to columns.
We're going to change our year to month.
Month.
Okay.
Mhm.
And notice I have a yellow line here. Does anyone else have a yellow line there? If not, if you don't have a yellow line there, I'm going to quickly just delete my chart. That's a remnant from before. So actually, let me delete this. Quickly catch up to you guys. All right, review date. Whoops, come on. Changes to month. All right. So
Okay.
does everyone have that?
Yes.
All right. Now,
I recently set this up on the laptop, so I think I'm almost there.
okay, good, good. All right, Jack.
Come back, Jack.
So do you want to update us to where you're at?
I had a chart 1. Let me remove. Let me see. So if I do that, okay. So I have January, February, all that. Chart
Yep,
1
and
review
ABC.
date, all the months, and ABC.
Awesome. Okay. All right. So it sounds like you're caught up. Excellent. 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 All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to drag our rating up to rows. All right. And you're going to get a chart, but it doesn't look right because we're summing our ratings and we don't want to do that. So we want to change our rows to, or our sum rating to count. Okay. It doesn't change much, but it changes enough. Now, the other thing we need to do is we need to change the, notice we don't have the month and the year down below. Okay. So we're going to click on the drop down arrow next to month and review. And we're going to go to more, custom, and choose our date value. And that looks a little more normal, right? It kind of widens out the chart because we've got a year representation.
That's what we had before.
Yes, it is. Yep. Okay.
Sorry, what did you select under custom date?
Custom date.
I'm sorry,
Okay.
I hit the drop down,
Yep. Okay. And you went down to
more,
and custom. Yep. And then date value.
months. This is detail. I have months. Yeah.
And
Oh, okay, but I don't have the years next to it, so should it be date? Oh, date value. Got it. Okay. I got that.
Okay. So
But I only have the one. Okay. All right. I got it.
So you're good?
Yeah, I got from February to February 2018. Got it.
Yep. Okay. Good, good, good. All right. So we have our rating set to count. We're counting our ratings. We have count of rating on the left side, which is our y-axis, right? We have our month at the bottom. Month of review date sounds kind of funny. We're going to be changing that in a second. What we do want to do, though, is add that second instance that we started to add before. So we're going to click and drag rating over to the far right side of our chart. When you see a vertical dotted line, you want to let go. And that's going to give you your two measures, your count of rating and your rating. So I've got count of rating and rating. And they seem kind of interesting, but we're going to change that in a minute. Okay. Was everyone able to do that? Hopefully.
Yes.
All right. So we have sum of rating, which does not make sense. Last time what we did is we chose average. So we're going to click on the drop down arrow and go down to measure and go to average. And of course, the data obviously changes, right? Now, before we change our colors, what can we infer by this? What can we say, you know, our average is doing relative to our count of rating? And you can focus on either one first. What do you think?
The average is very consistent.
It is very consistent. So the average rating for these audiobooks is consistent over time. The count of ratings go up and down, but when they do rate, they're pretty consistent in their ratings, which is interesting, right? Now, you'll notice though that our rating range is going from 0 to 9, right? That's something we're going to change in a second. Or actually, let's change it right now. What you're going to do is double click on average rating on the right side of the chart there. And you're going to bring up the edit axis dialog. Everyone see that?
On the right side of the chart where it says
Average rating.
average rating.
Yep. Everyone, was everyone able to open up the edit axis average rating
Okay,
dialog
click on
box?
that.
Yes.
And where do I,
I haven't said yet.
no, where do I click on it to get that dialog box?
Okay.
Just click on it.
On the right hand side, it says average rating, ABG, right?
Okay, right on the right
Double
side.
clicking on that, and you're
Okay,
going to open up the dialog
got it.
box.
Okay.
You're going to choose fixed, and we're going to go with a start of 8 and an end of 12. That's because our rating system has that particular fixed rating system. Okay. So we're going to go with 8 to 12. And to
Oh, I
post,
can't. Fixed to 8 to 12. Okay.
okay. We're going to click on the X to close out the dialog box. All right. So now we
So
have,
those are major tick marks, tick origin 8.
okay, let me bring it back up again.
Yeah, please.
Okay. All we did.
Okay, you're on general. I was on tick marks. Okay.
Okay. I don't know why you would be on tick marks. It defaults to general.
Just that's where it opened. Fixed,
It defaults to general.
right. Fixed start becomes 8 and fixed end becomes 12.
Yep.
Scale, reverse, logarithmic, average rating.
We didn't change anything else, Jerry.
Okay, and I just click on the X.
Yep. Now we just click on the X. Okay.
Okay.
So we've changed the range of our chart. Now what we're going to do is we are going to select the area that we tried to do earlier. Okay. And one way to do that is to select the lower half, right? And that's this half before you actually go into making these changes. And I don't know if you can see my screen here, but when I choose the yellowish line by just clicking on it, you'll notice that that becomes live in the marks tool area. And when I choose the other one, it bounces, if you will, to the other one. You see
Correct.
that? Okay. So what we were trying to do before, when everything went south, is to try and change the bottom part, which is average rating, to yellow. So what I want you to do is just make sure average rating is selected. And before we make it change the color, we're going to change it from automatic to area. That's what we want, for gosh sakes. For gosh sakes, that's all we want. All right. Now it's an orangey thing. It's orange and it's an okay color. But what we're going to do is change it to yellow by clicking on color and edit colors. And again, we're still in the average rating. You want to select it up here on the left-hand side, select data item, and click on that goldish box, the gold box. Click apply and OK. And that's what it should look like.
Mhm.
All right. Now we're going to click on the bluish line, which is the other one, the count of rating. Okay. And we're going to change that from automatic to area. And it's okay that, you know, it's all blue. We're going to click on color, click on edit colors, choose count of rating, and we'll click on the blue just to make sure it's that blue and not any other blue, even though we can see it. Click apply, OK. And there's one other thing we need to verify. Under color, you notice the opacity is not 100%. Okay, so we want to slide that slider over to 100%. And for the bottom part, the yellowish, we want to click on that, choose color, and make that 100% as well. And that is what we were shooting for. All right, we want nice goldenrod yellow and nice blue. That's a decent contrast, whereas before we had kind of blue on blue, yellow on yellow, orange on orange, and it wasn't really easy to see. Now we can see what we're doing, right? So now we need to change some of the labels of our charts because they don't quite work. Count of rating is good, but it would be better if it said number of ratings. So we're going to double click on that. And down at the axis title area at the bottom, we're going to make this number of ratings for our title. Okay. We're going to do the same thing for month of review date, the axis, x-axis. Double click on that, and we're going to change that to just month because month of review date is kind of long and verbose, so we don't need that.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
How did you get to
The month?
change? Yeah, where did you click to average rating?
No. Average ratings on the right. We're not doing that one. We're changing the month, which is on the x-axis. So we're double clicking. Yeah, we're double clicking on month of review date.
Okay, and then you just changed it to month. Got it.
Yep. Yeah, and average rating we're actually going to leave because that kind of makes sense. So we're going to leave that one alone. Okay. All right. So we've done a bunch of things.
I have a question.
Yeah.
How do we know which is the average rating and which is the number of ratings? Just looking
On
at
the
this chart.
right-hand side, you have a legend, and the legend is one is count of rating and the other is average
And it
rating.
goes in from 8 to 12, but how do we know whether that's the blue or the gold?
Well, the legend is color coded. You know,
Oh, okay, I see it. Up in
you
the
see
far here,
it?
right,
Okay.
measure names, okay.
Right. The legend is color coded, and traditionally when you see blue, it marries with the blue and
Yeah,
so on,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
The other thing you can do, Jerry, which is helpful, is when you mouse over, right? If I'm in the yellow and I kind of mouse
Month
over,
of review, yeah.
the little tooltip that pops up, you know, average rating. So I know that that's where I'm at. And over here, it's count of rating, right? Make sense?
Mhm.
Yeah. All right. So that's another thing. It's really interactive. So we've done a bunch of things. We've built a chart. What we want to now do is save because, you know, it took us some time to get here. So we're going to go up and click on File, Save to Tableau Public. And I'm going to call mine audiobook. Helps if I type it properly. Audiobook dashboard, because that's where I'm going with this. All right, and we'll click on Save. And what it's going to do is it's going to push it to the cloud. And I'll just show you what it looks like online. All right. Nothing fancy yet. This is not quite a dashboard yet, but I named it that because I'll be updating it as I go. Okay. Was everybody able to push it to the cloud, hopefully?
Mhm.
Awesome. All right. So now what we're going to do is click on a new sheet tab. All right. And before we do that, the insights gained from this, we started talking before about them. Average ratings is consistent over time. our number of reviews does not have an impact on average rating. How can I say that? Why would I, what leads me to believe that the number of ratings do not have an impact on the average rating? And it might seem
Do you
like
put a label?
Say that again, Jack?
Are you asking where would you place a description or something?
No, we're talking about the insight piece, right? So I know that average rating is consistent over time because it's kind of like a linear line, right? And
Yeah.
I know that this distribution is very different, right? Because of it's got peaks and valleys in it, right? So what does that tell me from an insight point of view?
No correlation between average rating and number of ratings.
Exactly. So one does not have an impact on the other. So there's not an association between them. Okay. And the reason we know that is the distribution is different. Let's say the gold was in the same shape as the blue. Then you would say that the distribution is very correlated. And if they were identically correlated, perfectly correlated, which is almost never happens, right? You know, when you start seeing perfect correlations, you have to ask yourself, is this a problem from a statistical point of view? So what we're seeing here is that they're not the distributions are different. They are connected logically, but statistically, they're not driving each other, right? Which is normal in this circumstance. We know that we're going to have ratings happen, right? People are going to give, you know, ratings, and we know that their average rating is going to be different. It's maybe a Likert scale, right? So the number of ratings that are given by customers of reviews is not necessarily going to be related to the Likert scale that we use to do the rating. Does that make sense to everyone? So we wouldn't expect this to be correlated.
No, we're looking at average ratings, but would we be able to see the range of ratings?
You can see anything.
Okay.
Yeah. So you're right. So what you're asking is mathematically, could we see the range of ratings?
And
And
we have, it's an average of 9, but do we have many 12s and not many, and you know, I mean, lots of 8s and not many 12s? Is that what it's saying?
okay, so what it's saying here, all right, the number of ratings, right? So for example, in February, we had 502, right? So each month we had a certain number of ratings or reviews that came in. And if number of ratings is confusing, you could always change that to number of reviews,
Right.
right? Okay, so these are the reviews that came in. These are the average rating that came in a given month. So on a scale of 8 to 12, right, in the month of February, we had 502 that ratings, right? And within that 502, the average rating or average score was 8.93. Make sense?
That's what it's saying, 8.9263.
Yeah, that's based on the start and end points that we created. But you know,
Well,
that
we would
is that
only,
an arbitrary number that you gave, or is that based on
no,
what you see in the
no.
data?
Yeah, data, right. It's not an arbitrary. So given what we know about the data and the range, that is the range that we have provided. Yes. Okay.
And the reason why I ask that is if you were to choose a smaller a lower value for start and a higher value for end, would we see the average you know, be different? I think I recall that it didn't matter. Like it
right. It wouldn't matter. It's based on what we know about our data. Yep. It's based
I
on
think
what
what I'm asking for is I'd like to see the summary data for each month.
well, guess what? There's a lot of things I would like to see too.
Well, yeah, okay.
Right?
That's what I'm thinking. Let's
Yep. So
go.
it's
Let's move on.
outside, right? It's outside the scope of
Right.
what we're doing.
Mhm.
Keep in mind that mathematically you have a lot of potential here. You could see a lot of different things, right? But you have to remember that what you see is not all there is to see. So things like that, Jerry, would be great things to think about. The other piece of it, though, is when you're planning out a dashboard, is it a good idea to put all of those dynamics in one chart? You might want to think about, is it beneficial to add a third layer to this? Or do we want to create a separate chart for this, right?
Mhm.
So those are other pieces, because at some point it's going to be too confusing for, the end user who's looking at it, trying to drill down. So that's something that you
Oh,
have to
and planning out the visualization, then you really want to look at the data and see what it's saying
absolutely,
before you plan the
absolutely.
dashboard.
Right,
Okay.
right. So the danger of not changing the scale to match the data is your chart is going to be skewed, and it's going to convey something that's not accurate. So this is truly mapped to what we know about our data. And so that's really important. You don't want to create a scale in a chart that is blown out of proportion, because that may give the user an idea that this is higher than it really is, or this is lower than it really is, right? So ethically, you always want to make sure that it matches the data. Really, really important. Now, case in point, really quick before we go to the second sheet tab, what I'd like you to do, now we know this represents our data, right? We can kind of get a vision of what it looks like. What I want you to do is double click on the average rating to bring up that fixed 8 to 12 that we did before. All right. And let's say we change this. Let's say we made it 1 to 10. Look what happened.
Ugly.
Ugly, right? It doesn't match the data, and
Right.
it doesn't make sense, right? So that's one of the reasons why we need to scale it based on what we know about our data. So it's not able to represent certain things properly. So that's really important. So we'll change it back to 8 to 12. And notice as soon as you do 8, it goes, right? And then when we go 12, it says, oh, I know what I'm supposed to be doing, right? So that's just something to think about. All right, so again, we're going to click on a new sheet tab down below, and we're going to call it chart 2. Okay. And our goal is to create a pie chart that shows the percentage of total reviews that each audiobook received, because we have to have a pie chart, right?
Right.
So we have our reviews and we have our sales. We're going to click reviews, and we need the rating, and we're going to drag that into our workspace area. And you'll notice that our rating gives us a sum of rating of 96,897, which is not correct. So we're going to change the sum to count. All right. And we should get 10,798. Makes perfect sense, right?
So you created a new worksheet or a new chart?
Well, a worksheet is the only place you can put a new chart. So we
Oh, okay,
create,
because I saw the 3 other options, so I wasn't sure.
well, the 3 other options aren't chart options. The 3 other options are new worksheet, new dashboard, and new story. So we have not gotten to dashboard yet. We won't be doing story tonight. What we did is we just added a new sheet tab, and we named it chart 2.
Okay. Okay. I didn't know if you duplicated or not. Sorry.
No, because then we'd have to strip everything out, and that would get a little messy. Yeah, it would probably take too much time to duplicate it. So we just created a fresh chart, a fresh sheet tab, and we renamed it chart 2. We didn't create a chart yet. We're about to, though. All right. All right. So we have our count of rating, right? And we drug rating into the work area. We changed it from sum to count, because we can't sum a rating, really. It wouldn't make sense, right? And the next thing we want to do is drag our audiobook name above the rating field. Okay. Now, this is going to be strange. That's interesting. What do you think that is? And everyone got the same thing, I hope?
No.
No?
No, I got a bunch of square dots across. I don't know if it's because I have to stretch it.
I got nothing.
Okay.
Audiobook name goes
So
above.
did you see what I did? Maybe you didn't see what I did. So here's our count, our rating, right?
Right.
And watch, sometimes people will do this and lay it in there and say, what the heck is that? That's what I did. I basically laid it on top of count rating right here in the marks area.
Okay, you're on reviews. I'm on reviews. I take audiobook name and I put it above count rating.
And you should just get
Now
up
I
to the-
got it. Okay.
right. Yes, Jack.
I have chart 2 and just ABC.
Okay, so do you have count of rating down here?
CNT parentheses rating, yes.
Okay, and when you
I dragged audiobook name off until I can figure out why I'm only getting chart 2 and underneath it ABC.
okay, so here's what I want you to do. Take off your audiobook name. You should have 10,798.
All I have is ABC.
Okay, so go up to data and edit blend relationships. Do you
Okay, data, edit one relationships, go ahead.
make sure sales is the primary data source?
I have only, yeah, I have, okay, I have to go sales primary data source, okay,
Yep, and audiobook reviews is the secondary,
okay.
and you have
And then custom is not what I had.
okay, it should be custom.
Yeah, I was literally just trying to do this through look and feel before
Okay.
when I was trying to catch up.
Okay, so you have to set up these sets of fields then?
Yeah, so let me see, month data purchase, month review. So
Do you want me just to leave this view up there so you can follow, or do you want me to actually go into the
yeah, I'm
menu?
just trying to figure out, okay, month data purchase. Hit okay. No, all right, let's see, month data purchase. Can I get rid of transaction ID?
Yeah,
Okay, so I can remove that. So now I have month data purchase. Then I have to go into on the second column, I'm assuming would be the review. So month, date of,
yeah, but you shouldn't be doing them separately though. What you're doing, Jack, is you're coming in here and you're doing month, right? So let me just move this out of the way. Month data purchase and review date like this. That set, that pair, those are
all right,
pairings.
primary. So, all right, so I'm gonna go into, so I have month data purchase on the left column.
Yes,
So now I have to go into edit and review month data, month review date, right?
Yep.
Okay, I got that one.
that's your
And then the
first
next
pairing.
one
The
is
next one,
audiobook name. Okay.
yep,
So I got that one. Okay, that's good. Now I'm gonna add the second one is year date of purchase, year
Yep.
review date. So let me
you
see.
got it. Yeah, and you have to expand to add them.
Year date of purchase, year review date. Wow. Okay, so now that I did that,
So now, if you have count rating in there, I would drag it away
okay, got it.
and then go back up to audiobook review and drag it back into your workspace.
All right. Count audio. I'm sorry. So I have to go back to sales, right? No, I'm in review. Okay, review.
Mhm.
And then I go to CNT rating, which is rating. Okay, right click, go to measure, select count. And I still have chart ABC. But it says count of rating is 10,798 when I
That's-
hover over it.
Okay, I'm going to stop sharing. Why don't you share your screen?
All right, hold on a second. Okay, so if I hover over this, I get that.
Okay, so what I want you to do is remove count rating by dragging it to the left, drag it off there, and then drag it back into your workspace area. Nope, that's not your workspace area, right there.
Aha, okay.
Uh-huh. Now you're going to click on the drop down arrow next to sum rating and change it to measure count.
Magical.
That's the issue. Yep. Okay. All right.
Good to go?
Yep. Good to go.
All righty.
All right. Thank you.
Thank
All right.
you.
You're welcome. All right. So we have just 10,798. And now at this point, it's not much of a chart, but it tells us an accurate depiction of the number of ratings, right? So even though it's not a lot, we know that it's accurate, and that's important. Now, what we're going to do, what I was trying to show before, is sometimes people will just drag fields down to this space down here, the marked space, and that's not always going to give you the optimal result. So I'm going to demonstrate the proper way of doing it. We're going to lay it on top of the 10,798. When we get a dashed line, we're going to let go of the mouse. Okay, that's the proper way to do it.
Great success.
Okay, now it's still not very exciting, but it is what it is. The good thing is we know that it's accurate, and so even if it's not exciting, this represents what we know to be true. And I'm basically saying we know it to be true. Obviously, you would have looked into it to see, is this true, right? So now we're going to go over to the right hand side to that show me button on the right hand side of our screen, and we're going to click on the pie chart. Okay. Everyone able to find the pie chart?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. Now it is small, but I'm going to walk you through how to change the size. What I would appreciate you not doing is getting too upset if it's not as big as the screen, because remember, we are going to be placing this into a dashboard. So while you might not like the size, I'm going to ask you to just be comfortable with the size. All right. Put those urges away. We're going to use the control key and the arrow keys. And what's kind of cool is this allows us to resize our chart. Okay. So holding down the control key and the up arrow key, and I have this mapped to another software, so bear with me here. I need to 1 second here. I thought I turned that off. Bear with me. I have short keys and it's mapped, so I need to stop it. Jeez. Help us, Lord. All right. Kill short keys. All right, I'm back. So now control and the up arrow will change the size. Hold on 1 second, folks.
Moving it up and down. Oh, I see.
Yeah, you're gonna go.
Okay.
Yep.
Not much though.
No, not much. So bear with me 1 second. I'm just trying to kill this program.
Yeah. For me, it moves up and down, but it doesn't get bigger or smaller.
It does. You got to
Right.
look at it carefully to see it change size. I didn't see it at first.
All right, hold on, guys. I apologize. I keep trying to
No.
shut this off here.
Nope. No, for me, it's just moving up and down.
No, it's very subtle.
Control arrow. I'm doing
Well,
control up.
if you be patient, I can show you.
Oh, there you go. Okay, I
really-
see it. Never mind. Yeah, but it's not by much. You're right.
Okay, so I'm not going to bother closing my program. I will just keep going. All right, so we're going to click on the analysis menu and go down to percentage of. And table.
Analysis menu is where? Up there, analysis. Okay.
Okay. Everyone good? You're not going to see any numbers yet because we didn't get there yet.
What do I click on though? In the analysis menu.
Okay, I'll say it again. Analysis, percentage of table.
Okay.
Okay, everyone got a pie chart with no data on it? Okay, all right. Now what we're going to do is drag our rating on top of our chart. Okay, and when you do that, you'll get two charts.
I don't know if you're doing anything, Dr. C, but nothing's happening on screen.
Nothing's happening on screen. Okay.
I don't see any mouse movements. Your cursor's stationary.
Okay, that's interesting. Do you see my screen?
I see a screen. I see a screen. I see your screen, but nothing's happening.
Frozen.
Okay.
It
Yeah,
looks
the
like it's
mouse
frozen.
cursor is in the bottom half of the canvas or the
Okay.
sheet.
Let me stop sharing and it looks like it's stuck. Okay.
Mhm.
Right, hold on. I guess Zoom is stuck.
Any escape can help.
Pardon?
Escape button, maybe, to get out of the full screen, then stop sharing. Yep.
Mhm.
Cool. Okay.
I have to launch Tableau, so give me a second. Okay. Let me share my screen. All right. So I lost that sheet tab. I'm going to go through it again in case anybody got lost at the same time. Right. If you guys want to follow along, that's fine. Or if you want to take a quick break, maybe we'll take a quick break. This way I don't confuse anybody by doing it over. Maybe now would be a good time to take a break. Okay.
Thank you.
Did everybody leave? Okay.
Thank
All right.
you.
Mhm.
No, I'm good. Or just I'm still at the point with the pie chart where we're gonna wait until we get to the other steps that froze.
Okay. So we'll take a break then. I was hoping to get a response from people, so everybody wants to move forward. All right. Okay, we'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll continue on. Do me the favor of not moving forward or clicking on things, or because
You
we're
got it.
going to try and keep in sync. Okay. All right.
Understood.
All right. We're back, and I was able to kill short keys, which is connected to the shortcut keys that we were trying to use in here. So that's why I couldn't manipulate my chart. And I had thought I turned that off, and I apologize that I had not turned it off. Anywho, so I have my chart. It's
Yep.
a little on the tiny side, but if you hold down control and use your arrow keys, right, you can move the chart down, and using the right arrow key, you can make it a little bit bigger. So our goal is to make it about that size. And I know it sounds tiny, looks tiny, but based on where we're going to put it in our dashboard, that's the perfect size right here. And again, I know it sounds funny because we have all this white space to work with, but think of it as it's going to be one part of the dashboard in one small little quadrant. So it will serve us really well. And then we can resize it if we need to. And the dashboard will automatically update, which is kind of nice.
What's interesting is you have to play with the arrows once in a while.
Yeah,
Get
it's not friendly. It's not user friendly. It's kind of weird, and it's not intuitive by any means. You know, it is kind of strange. So you do have to play with the arrows. Again, when you hold down control, you know, the up arrow actually goes down, the down arrow actually goes up, and then right and left. You know, it's kind of it's kind of strange, right? So as long as you have it looking something like this, you're fine. So we have a pie chart. Now, what we want to do, however, is we want to drag the audio book name, because we basically want percentages of our audiobooks, right? That's going to be part of our charts. Let me move this guy out of the way here. Because if I have the gallery, I won't be able to see what we're doing. All right, so we have our chart, okay, and our chart is not looking very special because it's colorful. It has, you know, the colors relative to what it should be. And if you mouse over to verify that your data is connected to the chart, let's do that first before we do the next step. If I mouse over on the, you know, one of the blues, I will see audiobook 1 and 2,826. You should see numbers. So let me know if you don't see numbers when you mouse over each of these pie
I
sections.
see percentages.
You do. Well, that's actually what we want to see, Jack. Um,
Wow.
but here's the thing, you don't see them as labels. You only see it when you mouse over. Is that it?
Correct.
Okay. So what that would mean for you is, you see how your count of rating, you've got your measure, you want to have it as count, right? To just verify that they're both count. All right.
Measure is count.
On both of those.
Hold on. Let me verify. Yeah, they're both counts.
Okay. So here, what we're about to do should fix it, Jack. We're going to give it a go. So you have 2 count ratings in green in the marks tablet here. We're going to work with the one with the circles because that has our actual numbers that we want. And we're going to drag it and lay it on top of our chart. Okay. And it should update it. And it's not. Just like everything else we've had here.
Yeah, I'm still percentages.
You're still percentages. All right. That's kind of strange. Yeah,
All I did was when I did that, right? When I dragged it over, it says show me as I'm hovering over the pie chart.
Yeah. So here's what I'm going to do, guys. And again, it's one of those things. I'm going to drag these out again. And, you know, it seems like this is one of those psychedelic nights where we have to do it more than once. Not sure why. Just to clear out our chart. And let's try it again because it's, for whatever reason, not working the way we intended.
It's a bad moon. It's a bad moon today, tonight.
Yes, very much so.
Carolina is asking, she think is BC. We did analysis.
Yes.
The percentage
yeah.
of.
So yeah, so what Jack is seeing is because he has remnants of that before. Yep, absolutely. You're correct, Carolina. Absolutely. So that's okay. And if you do have that, that's perfectly fine. So why don't we try building this chart again? It will just scrape everything out to scratch so that we have just a naked workspace to work with. And we're going to use our rating field again and drag it over to our workspace. And what's, pardon?
I said nice.
Yeah. It's definitely not producing what we want, right? This is a beautiful thing. What can I say? So when this happens, something like this happens and we know it's not correct, what we're going to do is we're going to delete that sheet tab and bring in a new one. Because it is very possible that sheet tab is kind of corrupt. And you know what? Rather than fight with it, let's delete it and we'll create a new sheet tab. Okay. And of course, we'll call it chart 2. And you know what? That happens every now and then. So, you know, it's a nature of the beast. If it happens, we just start fresh. Okay. So again, what we did is we deleted that sheet and we introduced a new sheet and named it chart 2. Okay. So now we're going to try this again. Click on the rating field and drag it over to our workspace. And that's a count. It's not the accurate count, but we want to change it to count, right? So instead of sum, we're going to go down to measure and click on count. All right. So this is an accurate number. Okay. Everyone good so far?
Good to go.
And this is the tricky part where we take our audiobook name and we're going to lay it above, you know, drag it and lay it above the 10,798. When we get the dash line, let go. And we should get this beautiful little table, which is simple, but well, it's not what we want, but we know
Confirmed.
that. Okay. All right. Now we click the show me. We click on the little pie chart icon to get us a little pie chart, which is very tiny, right? Okay. And what we're going to do before we resize everything is we are going to drag the one with the circles. Now, again, there's two of them. All right. The one with the circles is the one we want. And we are going to drag that to, and again, watch very carefully, drag this up to the label tile or icon in the marks, in the marks, the marks palette, I'll call it. All right. So all I did was I drug from the bottom up to label and I just plopped it on top of label.
Yep.
All right, cool. So now we have kind of a representation. It's not the best. And at this point, what we would like to do is change the percentage and then we'll resize it and maybe it'll be more friendly to us. So we're going to go up to data. I'm sorry, worksheet. I apologize. Analysis, my brain. Percentage of, and that's wrong too, right? Table. Okay. Again, it's a little on the tiny side. And actually there's some numbers that aren't represented. So we do want to make it bigger. Now, again, as we found earlier, control and the plus or the control and the arrows are a little strange. What we want is it to look something like this. So you might have to go, plus or minus a couple times. See, as we move it and make it a little bigger, now we're seeing all of the representation of the slices. Okay. Something like that. And again, it's even that little sliver slice is not represented. So we kind of have to make it a little bit bigger. And we'll probably have to resize it again. Once we have it in our dashboard, then we can see it in its real form. Right now, it's kind of, we're planning on putting it in the dashboard. Okay. So does everyone have that looking somewhat normal? Hopefully.
Got it.
And notice when you mouse over, it says audiobook 1, audiobook 2. I don't know about you, but I find that to be a very annoying, but it's because we don't know what audiobook 1, 2, or 3 is, but we have to assume our client does. Again, that would warrant asking them questions. They might notice that and say, oh, wow, we gave you data that doesn't have that. Maybe we should give you the real name. So again, it's one of those things. Okay. Now that we've done this, we are going to save to Tableau public using the same name that we used earlier. All right. So it should just save the workbook. All right. And it'll show up on Tableau public, right? Kind of like this. Okay. Easy peasy. All right. So now we are going to create a third chart. Okay. So just to recap, chart 1 was this interesting looking chart. Chart 2 was the pie chart. Okay. Again, there's a whole host of things we could do with this, but we are planning on getting to a dashboard. So the next thing we're going to do is create a third chart by clicking on sheet 3. Okay. We want a brand new sheet. We're going to rename this chart 3 because it is our third chart. And hopefully we don't have to do this one twice. It's one of those moon things, I guess. Everyone good so far?
Yep.
Awesome. All right. So now we're going to do some calculated fields. Now, if you remember last time, we did do some calculated fields and I thought they were pretty easy. Hopefully you find them to be pretty easy. Before we do our calculated fields though, we do need to get our sales table active and we need to bring up our date of purchase up to the columns section. All right. Kind of like we did before. We are going to change it to year. I'm sorry, to month. Don't mind me, to month. Okay. And you'll have ABC and all that fun stuff. Don't worry about that. We don't have any data in here yet. That's why it's like that. Okay. Once we get our calculations done, we will have some real data to work with. Okay. Everyone good so far?
Yep.
Awesome. Okay. So now we're going to create 2 calculated fields. All right. Now this is where it gets a little tricky. So we're going to select reviews first. Okay. And it's important that we select the table that we want the calculated field to be based on, right? So we know that both of these two tables, reviews and sales, have different fields that we could use for the purposes of calculation. So I'm identifying the reviews table as the one I want to work with first. And that way, when I go into my calculation dialog, I will have access to those fields. All right. Everyone good? Yes. All right. We're going to click on analysis, create calculated field. And the first one we're going to create is going to be called number of ratings. Now you can put spaces in these because it's just a name. All right. Number of ratings. Let me get an S on there. All right. Now the number of ratings is basically the count of ratings. But before you type the formula, always verify that you're in the correct table. Now, because I selected it earlier, you'll see it here, audiobook reviews, right? So I know I'm in my correct table. So I'm going to type count parentheses and type in R8. Oh, there it is, rating, right? I just double click on it and close it with a parentheses. So it's count rating, and it's basically going to give us the number of ratings. Makes sense, right? We're going to click OK. So now I have number of ratings underneath my reviews. Okay, it's in the correct table area. I'm now going to click on sales, and I'm going to create another calculated field, going up to analysis and down to create calculated fields. And I'm going to call this number of purchases. Okay. And again, it always helps to look at that you have your table, the correct table. If you accidentally, chose the wrong one, you'd want to cancel and of course choose the correct one. Okay. Makes sense. So how would we get the number of purchases? Well, we would say count, right? Parentheses. And the only thing I could think of is the transaction ID. That's the one field that if we count it, we will get the number of purchases. Kind of like counting the order ID. So since that is our goal, that's a field that's going to give us a count of purchase, or a number of purchases rather. Okay, so everyone got that there? Anyone stuck?
I'm good.
Okay, awesome. So we have our fields. We're going to click OK. And just to verify that you have both of them, we've got our sales table with number of purchases. We've got reviews with number of ratings. Okay. So if you toggle between these, you'll have your calculated field. Okay, everyone good? All right, we're going to create one more field, and that's going to give us a ratio because it would be nice to have that ratio. So again, we're going to choose sales, the sales table. We're going to go up and click on analysis and go down to create calculated field. And this one is going to be called reviews dash or / sales. So reviews to sales. Okay, that's the name of it. It just helps it stand out. And the formula is going to be the number of ratings. Okay, so you want to double click on number of ratings. Whoops, and not undo it like I just did. Good Lord. Divided by, okay, so the / and then you're going to type number of purchases. As soon as you type an N, it suggests you're going to double click on that. That's a difficult one. All right. So did anyone not get that? It should say calculation is valid.
You can auto size the window too to make sure it's all there.
Yes, you can. Thank you, Jack. That's a great point. Yep. And what's kind of nice is you have a visual, right? So it's number of ratings divided by number of purchases. Okay. And of course, it will tell you if the calculation is valid. All right. So we're going to say OK. And the field shows up in our tables area as a measure. All right. Everyone good?
Yep.
Great. So now we're going to take that reviews / sales field and drag it up to rows. That's a funky looking chart. That's a funky looking chart. But on a good note, we're going to change the style of chart. All right. And so what's kind of cool is we can click on the drop down arrow and choose bar, right? The drop, and I say drop down arrow. I was just talking about marks, but in case anyone's not sure where I'm at, it's under marks, okay? And we're going to choose the bar chart style. That's a little bit nicer. Okay. Everyone able to change your chart? Hopefully.
Yes.
All right. Now, and let me undo what I just did because I should talk about. You'll notice mine's kind of compressed together, right? Is yours also compressed together? Meaning the bars are kind of close together.
Yeah.
Well, scrunched up.
Right.
I don't know if, I mean, I stretched mine across, but it's still the same width as yours.
Okay, so I'm not sure how you stretched it across, but I'm going to show
Okay,
you.
like I see the months at the bottom are truncated.
Yep, they are. They are absolutely. So one thing you might want to do is stretch out your chart. And a way of doing that is go down to the bottom where your months are. And we're going to just pick on January. You're going to lay your mouse over January to the right of January. And as soon as you see the double arrow on the horizontal axis, you're going to click and drag to the right just a little bit to make it a little wider. Okay. Did that work for everybody?
Yes.
Okay, good, good, good. Now, the last thing we want to do is we want to change our x-axis. So who knows how to change the title of our x-axis? Anybody?
Double click on it.
Double click on it. Now, what happens when you double click on it?
Should we be clicking above where it says data purchase?
All right. So let's think about this. Data purchase, is that informative? Does it?
No, we're looking at months, not at dates.
We're right. So we're looking at months. So let's change that to month. All right. How do we do that though? Where does this reside? I guess that's my point. How do we change that? Sorry, I just.
We'd have to go back to the tables
You think?
and rename. Click on it and rename.
Wait.
Click on date of purchase and rename.
But we don't want to do that though. We don't
Okay.
want to. Yeah, we don't want to do that though. What would
Because that
we,
would change the formula. That would give us a problem.
that exactly. So what would be the best? What would be the best option for this? How would we change the x-axis?
When I double click
Nothing happens.
or go to format,
All right.
the only thing, yeah, okay, there was a field labels format, but that doesn't have anything to do with title.
Right. So if I double click on any one of these, right, any one of these months down here, oh, that's not what I wanted. Hold on. If I double click on any one of these months, what does it actually do? It isolates the month, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's not very useful. So how do we get back to this particular date of purchase? How do we get that out of here? In other words, why is it up here and not down below? Anybody have any idea? Yeah, no.
The
It's
only
been-
thing I can think of is if I right click all together on the chart itself, I don't know, I would just like,
I'd see a
I usually
label.
just look around to find and see what I can
Okay.
find.
So here's what we're going to do. It's not very informative. It's almost redundant, right? We see our columns are labeled with the month. Thank you. Does anyone have the year in their columns?
No.
Okay, so that's a problem there. But the other problem we have is date of purchase really doesn't benefit. That's where I was going with this. It doesn't really add to this. So we're going to actually right click on it and hide this field label
Right.
because it really doesn't, it's not additive. It doesn't benefit us, right? The
Mhm.
other thing that we have here is our months are kind of just hanging there and we're like, what year? So we're going to go back up to our columns up top here, click on that little drop down arrow and go to more like we did before, go to custom and choose date value. That is more beneficial. Okay. Now that we've done this though, it's uber fat. It's got, right?
Yep.
It's very wide. Now, do we stress about this? I'm going to say that we don't have to stress about this. The reason for that is we are actually going to modify the size of everything once we get it in our dashboard. What you could do, however, is you could try dragging your columns, your labels again, but it would not make any sense to do that at this point because this chart is going to be compressed anyway in our dashboard. So at this point, the chart is accurate, it's readable. We've got month of date of purchase, however, at the bottom because we made some changes, right? And that makes no sense. So what we're going to do is double click on month of date of purchase and let's change it to month. Let's just make it month and year. What do you think would be a good label? I think month and year. What do you think? I like month and year. Okay. Okay. And Carolina said hide header. So that is another way of doing it, right? All right. Awesome. Okay. So we have month and year. We have our months and our year on our x-axis. Everything looks good. So now we're going to save what we've done. Again, we're just making sure that we're not losing anything. Clicking on File, Save to Tableau Public. All right. And of course, when it launches it, we can just close it out here. It looks nice on Tableau Public, but so we're going to clap show me if that's still showing for you so that we can talk about this chart before we actually build our dashboard. So what does this chart tell us? Now that we have it looking the way we want it, and it's more informative because we don't have all these different labels that make no sense. What does this chart tell us based on the calculated fields that we created? And
The number of sales on per month between February 2017 and March 2018.
Okay, so it is, there are some sales involved in here, but remember,
I also see 4 nulls at the lower right hand corner.
Yes, and those are there. There are some nulls, absolutely. What we do see though, don't forget on your y-axis, what do we put on there? It's reviews over sales. It's ratio.
So we're looking at around like 18, top 18%.
Okay.
From about 10%, no, for December 2017, or it looks very low, like about 6% maybe to 18% of, percentage of reviews.
Okay.
So we got a
Reviews to
pretty
sales,
wide
right?
range there, yeah.
Right. So
Reviews
this is
divided by sales. Yep.
You got it. You got it. So again, it looks can be very deceiving. So we want to be careful that we understand what we built, right? So we're looking at reviews to sales. So let's pick on a particular one. Let's do June 2017, right? So June 2017, 16% roughly. Well, we could say actually
17%.
17 if we were to round, right? So the number of reviews relative to sales, do you think that's a good number or a bad number? In other words, let's say you had X amount of sales. Is 16% of reviews relative to those sales a good thing? And we don't know if it's a one-to-one, right? We don't know if it's, people don't always review right away is my point. So let's say we have sales from a prior month, we may not have reviews relative to those sales, right? What are we looking at here specifically?
The percentage of reviews that came in compared to the sales of that month, but it's not necessarily the reviews of the books that were sold that month.
So let's verify this because it's really important. Dates can really trip you up. If we go back to data and look at edit blend relationships, right? What can we infer here based on our blending? Remember, this whole exercise was about a blending. The date of purchase and the review date are matched. What can we infer now based on this? Remember, we did blending way back a couple hours ago, right? We probably forgot, but we did blending. So we literally, it's looking at the month date of purchase and the review date for the month. These are one and the same. So the purchase and the review happened in the same month.
They want is, I mean, I guess I would say, is there, looking at this on my own, not really looking for providing an answer, but to say, is there a correlation between the date of purchase and the review date?
Well, that we're not
I don't see a useful correlation, to be honest with you. I mean, yeah, you can have a certain number of, you can have a review date. That's just the review date, right? It doesn't say how many reviews. It's just the review date.
Okay.
I don't know. I honestly, I have to honestly say, I don't understand
if you don't,
where
and
this
that's okay,
correlation
Jack.
is.
Well, so here's the thing, Jack, and that's perfectly okay if you don't understand. So there's a reason I'm digging deeper into this, because it's really important that we understand what it is we built, right? So based on the blending we did, we linked audiobook sales and reviews, and we're using the date of purchase of any given book, and we're matching it up to the review date. So let's say I purchased a book in January and I subsequently reviewed it, right? If I did not review it in January, that review is not going to be linked to that sale in that given month. Does that make sense? The way we blended this and matched this up, we're requiring that the month of purchase and the month that it was reviewed be the same.
Yeah, I get what you explained, but I would still question why there is this correlation.
Or why it's important, what it's really telling us.
Okay. So let's talk about the two things. So why it's important, right, is that we want to see the time from purchase to the review. In other words, if people purchase something, and in this case, it's an audiobook, so it's easy to listen quickly rather, and subsequently review it, we're expecting, given it's an audiobook, that the review is going to be quick. It's going to be close in proximity to the month date of purchase. So does that make sense? In other words, it's an audiobook. Given the nature of an audiobook, it's going to get reviewed a lot faster. People will know relatively quickly if they like it or not. As soon as they hear the person speaking, right, in the book, what happens is they might like the voice of the person, or maybe not. Maybe they don't like the pace of the book, or maybe there's just something about it that, or maybe they love it, right? So it's highly likely that they're going to review it very soon after they purchase it, within that same month. So what we're doing is we're saying, given that, our dashboard is going to reflect that, because that's what we're interested in. Okay.
So as the inference that the more reviews there are per month correlates to the number of purchases per month?
Not necessarily. It's the other way around. So what we're saying here is that the likelihood is high that they will review it in the same month they purchased it.
But what if they buy it at the end of the month and they haven't finished it before?
That's very possible.
Yeah,
That's very possible. That's okay. But what we have done, and again, what you have to remember is that every dashboard and every chart that you build has a different purpose. And what we've done is we've normed it around what the client wants. And the client wants to see, because they're interested in that purchase behavior and consumer behavior and review behavior, they're looking at close proximity between purchase and review. So that's what they're interested in. So what we've done is we said, okay,
but I'd want to know then how many reviews have been excluded from this account.
Well, that's a good metric that you would want to look at. Right now the client's not interested in that, but that you mentioned a very good thing though. If there are people that are not reviewing and they had the opportunity, why aren't they? Maybe they don't know.
Or they didn't review that month. I mean, I'm looking for the, it's like I have an audio book that is audio cassettes, because it's old style, and there are 12 half hours. I'm not going to listen to all of that in a week.
True. But if you listen to one, you might still review it.
I
You-
doubt it. I would want to hear the whole thing, but that's me. I'm not.
But right.
I think the other thing I can think of with this is the more reviews there are, in 1 month regarding one or more titles, could, let's say what is that, the reviews per sales, right? Let's say you have a high one, let's take February,
Mhm.
or what I would imagine they're hoping for is the more reviews there are,
Mhm.
would inspire more purchases of particular titles.
That's correct. So, and what you've just alluded to is called the network effect. So, and okay, so what we're
But we're
looking,
not seeing that.
well, we're not seeing that, but we weren't planning on seeing that.
I
Right.
want to see where this goes. at
You
this
would
point.
not, yeah, you would not see the network effect in Tableau because it's just not designed for that.
Mhm.
There are, there are, using graph theory, you could actually see the nature of the viral aspects of, when reviews happen, do sales subsequently follow? And is there a network effect? The more reviews you have, the more sales you have, both positive and negative, right? So you could do all those. Tableau, this is at the end of the analysis, so you would run those analyses in R or Python and then report that out in Tableau, in an aggregate way, right? So those are all things that you definitely would want to look at. But here, based on our data that we have and what we know the data can tell us, we've set it up so that we are controlling what we see, and we're controlling it based on if the data purchase happened, I'm sorry, or the month in the same month as the review, we're going to capture that here. And then of course the year has to be congruent as well, right? So we don't want to run the risk of, January 2017 getting mixed up with January of 2018, right? We want to have congruence there. And this way we can pick up on the instant aspect, in other words, within the month. And knowing that there's a 30-day window from the date of purchase, within that 30 days, it's N minus 30, right? That tells us something. All right. So hopefully that makes sense. And again, this isn't the only way we could look at it. Does that make sense? Or are we still rusty on that?
I just want to see where this goes because, when you have a client who's asking you for the presentation or for an analysis of something that you really don't understand, I'd want to do the analysis and see what it shows, rather than trying to take my preconceptions and say, why don't you ask these questions?
Right. So let me ask you a question. So you're thinking I'm suggesting we take preconceptions?
No, my preconception is that by linking the month of the review to the data to the month of purchase, we're missing a lot. But I want to see where that linkage leads.
Well, there's a lot to infer as well.
Right. But I think you're forgetting though that the client made this request.
Right. And that's where I want to see where the analysis leads, rather than thinking about, hey, we're missing all of this. Let me see where this goes. And I don't see where it's going yet.
Okay. So I think now I understand the confusion. Tableau is not used for analyzing.
It's just used for presenting. Okay.
It's correct. It's used for visualization.
Mhm.
Now, I should qualify what I just said by stating that you can connect Tableau to R, you can connect Tableau to Python, and you can actually run functions, right, that Tableau normally can't do in R and have it loop back to Tableau for the purposes of visualization only. But Tableau is not designed for analysis. It's aggregate only. And you'll notice like we have dates, we have dimensions and measures, but they're aggregates. Yes, Jack.
Jerry, were you the one who said before, because the other thing I was thinking of is when the numbers go down, right? That could also be like what you said, it's surrounded by the school year. So like May, June is end of school, people aren't buying books. And then August is a vacation month, people are going to buy things. And then September school starts up again, October school starts up again, and so on and so forth. I'm curious if that plays into it.
It plays into it, but again, we're
We're
not
not doing
the
analysis.
right. We're not doing
just looking at
analysis, right? We're
visualization.
visualizing the data that we have. So
Right.
right. So And that's something that's really important to remember. There's a reason you learned R and Python, because there you do your analysis, right? This visually describes the results of the analysis. So the data set that we have is, again, assume a client provided it, right? And they said, these are our goals. Here's a data set that will facilitate X goals. So, and that's what's driving this whole process. We know the hypothetical client. They gave us a data set. They said, this is what we want. And we said to them, given the data set, we can do this. So this is based on what the client was interested in. But it
I just want to see how the dashboard lays out and what.
Right, but when you say what can you infer from this, that means what, to me, that means what can you tell us about this based on what you're seeing?
Well, right. And so when I have this dialog box up on the screen, though, when I say infer, the goal was just to make sure that we understood that the date of purchase is the month, and the month in these two tables are going to be matched. They have to be equal. The months have to be the same. And what we can infer is that the month for a given purchase and the month for that review from that purchase are linked together. If the review happened outside of the month of the data purchase, we will not be representing it.
I understand now.
Yep, that's what I was getting at. So we're seeing less of the data potentially because, as we know, some folks may not review it in the same month, right? And that's another story. But given what the client said they wanted, this is giving them that piece.
It would make more sense to me if we weren't reviewing the books, the audio books, but we were reviewing the purchase experience, let's say.
Okay, so
That would make more sense to me. How many people, because that happens in the same time frame.
what happens in the same time
The
frame?
purchase experience, you ask somebody that, were you happy with the way our website worked? You
Yeah,
can
but
do
that's
that. You can do that the same day.
But that's a whole set of, that's a different analysis.
That's a totally different analysis. Yeah.
Right.
I'm just a
So-
little thinking, well, who reviews books the same month? Maybe I just think that they're excluding a lot of.
I think, all right. So
But
I think
I'm
you're
not going to
listening-
go there. I mean, that's okay. We don't have to, we don't have to talk about it.
okay. You're assuming that they have not looked at all the other pieces.
Right.
And so you have to be
They
really-
asked for this, so let's give them this. Let's go.
Right. Well, hold it. There's a purpose to my discussion here.
Okay.
Okay. You do not want to introduce bias into this process. You want to say to yourself, given what I was asked to do, right, I can provide it given the data. I may have suggestions for other possible analyses, right? Tableau doesn't do analyses. So I would go back to my client and say, given what, we now know, are there any other pieces that you want to fill in? Are there any other things that you find might be interesting, right? So that's something to think about, right?
Yeah.
Do we want to actually make suggestions to our client? At this point, we're not saying that we should not be looking at those other things, right? The whole purpose of this exercise is to understand what it is we're looking at and why are we looking at it this way and what does it mean, right? So we want to be really careful that we don't make assumptions that, oh, if they bought the book in January and they reviewed it in March, we're seeing that here, because we're not.
We're not. Right.
Right. Okay. All right. So now that we know that, we've figured that out, what we're going to do is, we've already saved, we're going to build a dashboard. Okay. Now, the icons at the bottom, you will see there is one for adding a new sheet. We've used that a couple times. We're going to click on the one that says new dashboard. Okay. And that brings up a dashboard, which is basically a work area to build a dashboard. First thing we need to do is we need to change the size. So we're going to click on the drop down arrow next to size, and we're going to change the width to 1200. And you can either type it in or click on the arrows. It's up to you. And the height is going to be 1000. Okay. Again, it's 1200 by 1000. Everyone got that?
On both maximum and minimum.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, they're linked. So
You're linked. Yeah.
one will update, right? Okay. And then very carefully, all right, very carefully, we're going to select chart 1 and drag it and lay it towards the top. And it'll fill the whole area, which is normal. Okay. And then we're going to drag chart 2 towards the bottom of the screen and let go. And then we're going to put chart 3 to the right side bottom, right bottom. And if it doesn't go where you wanted it, you just click and drag next to your, and sometimes this is a pain, but there we go, next to your pie chart. So this is exactly how you want it to look.
Got it.
Okay. And you'll notice everything kind of sized and kind of gets sucked into its space. It says, oh,
Mhm.
okay, I can sit here nicely. Okay. Everyone good?
Yeah.
All right, awesome, awesome. So now that we have our legends, the legend on the right-hand side, okay, it belongs to the pie chart actually. So what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of the measure names. You see there's two. There's one for audiobook and there's one for our audiobook name and one for measure name. We're going to remove the one for measure name by just selecting it and clicking the X to get rid of it. All right, we decided we don't want that one there. Everyone good?
Yep.
All right. So now this is a little tricky, but we need to drag this legend by clicking on it. And you see how you get those little dashes or lines at the top? It looks like two, like an accounting style,
Mhm.
right? We're going to drag that down and lay it underneath our pie chart. Okay. And it's going to look weird. It's going to look weird. That's okay. You'll see audiobook, audiobook, audiobook looking very strange. But at least it's underneath the pie chart. That's what we want. And we can also resize our grids, if you will. So you'll notice that the pie chart has a scroll bar, and that's really, really not fun, right? Really annoying. The scroll bar, if you have one, is there because our pie chart is a little big. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is go back to chart 2 in our sheet tab, and using our control key, we are going to make it smaller. So control and the left arrow should make it smaller. And when you do that and go back to your dashboard, it may have resized enough. If not, maybe do it a little bit more.
Okay, so I didn't have a scroll bar, so that means some.
Then you're good to go.
Okay.
You're good to go. All right.
Mhm.
Okay. Did anyone have trouble resizing it? And if you still have a scroll bar, let me
Yeah,
know.
I'm still working on it.
Yep.
Let me see. So go to chart 2, control.
Yep.
Let me see. That really stinks though that you have to do that. Yeah, I still have a. Do I have to make it bigger or
Jack,
smaller?
you can do this as well. You can drag it this way, right on the dashboard. So, you know, I'm just dragging
All
it
I'm saying
out.
is when I made it smaller, the scroll bar just moves to the left with it.
Okay, so we're going back to the chart 2 sheet tab to make it
Right.
smaller. So you shouldn't have a scroll bar in that because it's just a it's just a sheet tab. We don't have any, we don't in this view, we're not in the dashboard. We don't have scroll bars. So you're saying you have a scroll bar?
No. When I go to resize it in chart 2.
But we're doing it on the sheet tab.
You wanted me to go, you said to go to chart 2, right? And then I clicked on the sheet tab.
Right. And you're saying you have scroll bars in this view?
No.
Okay.
All I'm saying is when I use control left or right to resize in chart 2,
Okay.
then I went back to dashboard to see if, depending on the size that I shrank or expanded it to, if the scroll bar would disappear, and it has not.
That's correct. Yes, I'm aware of that.
All right.
Yep, I'm
I'll
aware.
just keep it the way it is.
Well, if you want, you can.
Well, I mean, it doesn't matter because I've made it like 10 times smaller, and all that happened was the scroll bar moved along with it in the dashboard.
And I'm sorry that's frustrating you.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, is whatever the expected result was, it didn't happen.
Yeah, and we didn't finish what we were doing.
Okay, sorry.
That's okay.
How did you get the audiobook name to lay out vertically on top of each other like that? Because mine is just horizontally along the bottom.
Okay, so by resizing these windows down here, right, you will
Mhm.
change the view of how things are laying on top of one another. Okay. So
Okay,
if I make this smaller, they're going to spread out wider. Okay.
okay,
And
got it.
all right.
And now I
So,
got the scroll bars.
yep. Okay.
Okay,
I'm sure you probably do have the scroll bars.
right.
What we're going to do is we're going to resize from right to left for chart 2. Okay. And I'm going to explain why you have scroll bars if everyone's ready.
Mhm.
Reason we have a scroll bar, and again, notice it's going in a vertical fashion, is we need to move this up. Okay, making it smaller is one thing, but where it's located on this axis is what's causing this right here. And that was the whole point of this, is to show you that resizing it is the first step, relocating it is the second step. So we're going to go back to chart 2 and we're going to relocate it so that it is towards the top. And in doing that, you can make it a little bigger, but you want it placed right about here. When you go back to your dashboard, wow, we've got a lot of space to work with here. Okay, so now that you've done that, you can then resize this like so. And now we can see all of our audiobooks and we can see our chart. And again, you would resize this till it gets to the point that you like it. You might have to go back to your chart 2 and make it a little bit bigger. But at some point, the farther down this is on the y-axis, you're going to get scroll bars. Okay.
Confirmed. Sorry. Everything's good.
Good. So the point is you're going to resize this the way you want it, knowing that you're dealing with a finite space. And so, you know, at the end of the day, you only have so much space to work with. So you do what you can. All right. Now, the other thing we want to do is our chart titles are kind of bland. Their names really make no sense because they're kind of generic. So why don't we start with chart 1 and double click on the name chart 1. And when you do that, you're going to get a pop-up dialog. We're going to change it from sheet name to number of reviews. All right. And average rating. We're going to highlight it and we're going to change the font size to 11 and we're going to make it bold. And we're going to apply that same thing for each of our chart titles. Right? Chart 2, right, is going to be number of reviews by audiobook. And we're going to again change it to 11 and bold.
Okay, it's not changing font size. Why is it
You
not
have to
changing?
you have to highlight it. You have to select it.
Oh, I have to select the text. Okay.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
There we go.
Yep. And then chart 3, we're going to call it ratio of reviews to sales. I think that makes sense. Of reviews to sales. And again, you have to highlight your text. This is one of those weird dialogues that you have to do that.
Mhm.
Okay. So now that we've done that, what you can do is if you want to try and resize your pie chart, In chart 2, you can do that if you feel it needs to be, you know, fixed in any way. I kind of like mine centered, so I'm kind of moving mine over to the center. Again, you choose what works for you. Once you have it centered, you might be able to make it a little bit bigger. Again, being cognizant that eventually you'll create scroll bars. Yeah, I'm getting there. I think I like it like so. I feel lucky. Yeah, let's try a little bit more. Oh, scroll bars. I hate you. All right.
Could be Unicode,
Oh, if it is, I'm giving it to you, Jerry.
Thank you.
All right. I hexed myself. I need to go back up. All right. I feel lucky. Oh, a little bit more. So you see, it's a process, right?
Yeah.
It's a process. Okay. I'm not going to.
Did you want to also rename audiobook name, or are you keeping that the way it is?
Audiobook name, we're leaving it because it is the audiobook name. Yep. So we're keeping that the way it is. Again, the one caveat is that, the name that they have, like, hopefully they know what audiobook 2, 3, and 4 is, because we can't even guess, right?
Gotcha.
We wouldn't want to guess, right?
I just put number of reviews by title.
Number of reviews by title? Where?
Yeah. Instead of by audiobook. I called it by
Oh, okay.
title.
Okay, by title. All right. All right. So the last thing we're going to do is create an interactive filter. Okay. So again, one of the reasons we do an interactive filter is it allows the user to play around with the data, and it allows them to determine different trends that they're interested in. So making it interactive is going to be helpful. So in our pie chart window, this guy right here, what you want to do is just click in the white space in the pie chart window or quadrant or whatever, right? And you're going to click on the drop down arrow underneath the filter. So when you click on the drop down, you should see the same thing that's on my screen here. And we're going to choose filters and audiobook name. Everyone see that there? Does everyone see that there?
Book
Yep.
name, right.
All right. So by doing that, we've added a new filter on the upper right-hand side. All right, you can see it up there. Now, right now, if we were to select, let's say, audiobook 1, you'll notice that only the pie chart changes, right? None of the other graphs change. Okay, so we're going to select all because we're going to make a change to our filter. Right now, it's only connected to that one chart. We want to connect it to all our charts. Okay, the way you do that, you're going to click up here in the filter box. Okay, you're going to select the little drop down arrow for more options. You're going to choose apply to worksheets and selected worksheets. And we need to check the other 2 charts, charts 1 and 3. 2 is already selected. It's already joined there. And we're going to click OK. Now, when we turn on and off our filters, we will change all of the charts together. Okay. So now you can see different trends per audiobook. Again, I would love it if we had actual names for our books here instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but it's not about me, it's about my client. So this is what they've asked for. And of course, when you show them this visualization, they might say, right? Keep in mind, there's only 10 of them. So this is probably a short list, what's called a short list. And they know what each one of these is. They have a high affinity for it, and they've chosen to obfuscate it. Okay. Pretty cool, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, that is cool.
Right. So
yeah,
and again,
that reminds me of the pivot table with slicing.
Exactly. But how compare it, Jack? What are your thoughts? And let me make my thingy smaller here. What are your thoughts about that, though? Do you like this style better?
It's definitely has its pluses.
Okay.
I think obviously there were things that would refresh with this that wouldn't refresh in a pivot table.
That's correct. And so that's something to think about, right? So why don't we go ahead and push this to Tableau Public and see what it looks like online in a web page. And of course it takes a second. Oh, that's nice. Did anyone else get an error? I got an error.
No, I didn't.
Okay, yeah. Sometimes it loses its connection to Tableau Public.
I'm good.
Okay. Yeah, and it wants me to sign in. Yeah, I'm not going to sign in for now. Do you like how it looks in your web page? Mine crapped out. Let's see if I can get it back. Yeah, it got disconnected. That's okay. So do you like how it looks on a web page?
Yeah, it looks pretty good.
Okay. So why don't we, since mine isn't connected and it's probably fighting with my other, I have 2 accounts. So
And then the interesting thing is, if you were, I mean, I don't think you would have the ability to. You would have to be creative to like print this out to a PDF or something else if you wanted to. I don't know if that option exists in Tableau.
Well, here's the thing. Typically you don't print out dashboards. And I'm so glad you mentioned this, Jack, because it lends itself for good conversation. In data visualization, there are 2 main types of visualizations: static, which is something like an infographic or a PDF, as you mentioned, right? And an interactive. And an interactive is what we just built.
Right.
When you need to create a static type of document, you would not use Tableau for that. It's primarily designed for interactive. You would choose maybe Python or R to do your visualizations, and you would print them out, like do an R markdown or something, or you could even do it in Excel, right? So that's where the tool that you choose is going to be designed for a very specific purpose. So Tableau is primarily designed for interactive. It's not really designed for print. It's
Yep. Making it as a PDF would be useless.
Right. You would lose the whole interactive
Yeah.
right piece, and you would actually lose a lot of the granularity that you've built into the interactive. So that being said, the workflow that you choose, if you know that some type of printout is going to be desirable, you could do it in Python, do it in R. You can blend the 2 together and create a very nice PDF like we did R Markdown that gives them kind of a non-interactive type of analysis. What you might want to do then is, of course, have your charts and then underneath tables that explain the charts, right? So putting it in the mindset of the audience and what they're perceiving. If the goal is to communicate the same thing that you did with the interactive, you're going to have to work a little bit harder to design it so that it does convey the same thing.
So I went into settings and I turned off show viz on profile and allow access.
Yep.
Want to do that. Okay.
All right. Cool. Good. So questions about what we did? And do you understand?
Is Tableau always this funky and cranky?
It's trigger happy. I will tell you, it's trigger happy, and a lot of people don't like it for that reason.
Okay.
It takes time to get used to. There's just sometimes quirks. There's sometimes issues. It's very much designed to point and click. And if you click and drag into the wrong area, it's going to give you the wrong result. So you try again. It's one of those things. Mine froze because I had short keys running and I forgot I had that map. Short keys is a macro typer that basically lets me type 2 keystrokes and it prints out a whole bunch of stuff. And I forgot that I still had it linked. So of course it started fighting.
Right.
So that's why mine crashed. What can I say?
Thanks for your patience tonight.
Not a problem. And again, I'm a little under the weather. So if I got a little cranky, I'm under the weather. So it happens. We'll stop our recording.